Alright guys, time to grab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to the absolute insanity that is the Call of Duty League. Would it be a day of CDL action, especially with so much on the line today? Qualification for the winners bracket of the Major, for something completely outrageous to happen. Certainly the most outrageous thing I think I've seen happen so far this year. Maybe in CDL history, to be perfectly honest. But I mean, yeah, there's plenty to dive into. I'm sure you guys will let your thoughts be known. But yeah, the CDL is back in business officially with this type of stuff happening. Very much intrigued to your thoughts. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into, of course, and yeah, perfect time to subscribe, to be honest. First of all, Crim's birthday. Happy birthday to him. Happy 18th birthday. Say the subliners, I believe now he's 29, not far behind Playstar. But I mean, yeah, as I say, plenty of series to dive into. We've got to wrap through quickly this Raven series before we can dive into the juice that is Florida Mutineers versus the Boston Breach, right? Because I mean, that one, honestly, like, the series had everything and it finished off in just unbelievable CDL classic fashion. Now, of course, Ravens came in here against Seattle Surge. If they won this one, they would have, given themselves a chance still to get to the winners bracket, right, and put Thieves at risk. As it turned out, that wasn't actually the case. I'm sure we'll look in more detail at kind of, how things stand and what the bracket's going to be in tomorrow morning's video. But yeah, they still had a chance coming into this series, but they got blown out. I honestly thought this series that Seattle were kind of do exactly what Boston Breach got done to them by Los Angeles Thieves just yesterday. I got blown off the face of the earth. London looks so lost lately, and I imagine their confidence is just in the bin right now. Fair play to Seattle though. They've been looking rather good. They looked really good this series. These also credit to Money Stats for this one. This, like, I genuinely looked at this when it was 5-3 and I was like, this has a 3-0 Seattle written all over it. Like, London were, I don't know what the odds would be at this point for London to throw the 5-3 lead, but I would give it like maybe not 90% chance, but I just felt like it was going to happen. It seemed like London were just going to choke this lead, especially to a team like Seattle that tends to have the ice, right? So London managed to lose 3 rounds in a row, just like, I saw it coming before it happened. It's just incredible how predictable it is sometimes with the Ravens. And yeah, they lose this game 2-6-5, and at this point in the series is just over, right? They get bodied 3-0 in the final one. GA round 11s, like, yeah, their round 11 record is pathetic, but honestly, just being up 5-3 and not closing this one out is practically unforgivable if you want to win a series like this. Like, fair play to the Ravens, they've still got a lot of points on the boards, but like, ever since Gizmo left initially, the team has not been the same, and ever since Paul X really left, honestly, when they brought him in on loan, the team has, even since then, is pretty much when their slump began. But they got so many points before then that they're actually in a decent spot right now, still in terms of points, but plenty of teams below them are way better at the present time. Honestly, London are probably in the bottom, 3 teams in the game right now, to be honest, at least in my books, and Surge just demolished them in this control. They're really good at Berlin control. They're not really sure why Ravens went to this map personally, just because I think that Seattle just pretty much dominate this map pretty much whenever I've seen them play it. And a hot 3-0 sweep for Seattle. So Ravens just got bodied. I'm kind of tired of talking about them at this point because this is kind of frustrating to watch their downfall this season. But so yeah, Seattle, they're really on the up. 4-1 this qualifiers. That puts them in a very promising position in terms of seeding for the Major. And like them, Toronto Ultra, Minnesota Rokkr, 3, if anything, kind of big surprises at this stage that are certainly mixing it up with the top dogs that we kind of know to be OpTic, FaZe, and New York Subliners around that ballpark as well, and some other teams potentially in the mix, right? Who knows who's going to win this Major? It's incredibly tough to call. Nasty says, right, he was getting frustrated, understandably, like I'm talking about the kind of controller breaking situation that he seemingly run into. But yeah, the confidence of this team right now must be completely in the bin. And honestly, I mean, fair play to Seattle, right? Pred, number 1 ranked SMG this stage, and then number 1 ranked Flex in terms of KD goes to Simp. So this duo, after starting out the year so strong and looking for a brief period of time like the number 1, number 2 rookies in the game, like they seem to have finally got back to that form once again, right? And now they're pretty much carrying Seattle most of the time, and even accuracy this series, I'm pretty sure, have dropped to 1.34. Like, look, if you're letting accuracy drop a 1.34 in your heads, you are going to lose that series every single time. Let's dive into this one then. The Mutineers, their players were healthy again, back to the facility, so we got the cameras in action again, which certainly was a good idea. And so yeah, honestly, this series, I felt like I don't even understand how exactly Mutineers won this series, because every map they won felt so suspect. This game 1 should have been Boston's. Like, both teams are good at this map. I thought they would 100% play this map in hardpoint game 1, and pretty much how it went. Dave Penny had some good moments here to keep Florida alive, but in the end, Boston established a pretty comfortable advantage here on this Kavuti hardpoint, 244 to 200. Well, theoretically unlosable situation, but Boston break into this, Boston get broken into this final hardpoint, and the rotation to P1 was absolutely ridiculous, and all of a sudden it's actually Mutineers that come back and win this game. I don't really know how Boston managed to choke this one and throw it away, but I mean, at this point it felt like they were going to win it. They were all over the point. Dave Penny gets 1 kill from the back, but then he gets taken down right here. Like, Capsule wins a gunfight that he probably shouldn't be winning it on Dave Penny. Capsule takes him down with the rat, gets in the hardpoint, Awaken and gets shot from the back, and really you don't see a way at this point that, somehow Mutineers can hold on to this one, especially when Nero gets this kill, and Dave Penny, the only one who can contest, is quite a way away. But eventually someone gets into the hardpoint, Dave even gets taken down, and then Vivid goes massive with a 3-piece, gets down, takes TJ Halley, takes Capsule, takes Methods, and that's game 1 in the books. Now, game 2 goes very quickly in Boston Breach's favour. It wasn't incredibly comfortable, but Nero just took over over this game 2. Like, even at this point in the series, it was 43-25 after just game 1, game 2. But game 3 goes the way of the Mutineers. They won a really impressive offense, actually, to take this one, because offenses are certainly very hard to come by here on Tuscan control, already any control map in the game right now, and Tuscan is arguably at times even more frustrating, or maybe, nothing's as frustrating as Gavutu, but it's certainly up there at times, right? And as soon as Mutineers won their offense and got so many ticks, I was like, okay, good, this is looking good to at least close out this map sooner than it might have been. And then game 4 goes Breach's way, though. I thought this was probably going to happen here. I felt like a game 5 was on the cards, and I had no faith at all that, Mutineers could clutch up in this game 5, but they do it in ridiculous fashion. They go down 5-2. I feel like, okay, Breach, they're the more clutch team, but like, you've got to give some credit to the Mutineers here. Of course, we're going to talk about all the drama here and dive into it in more detail, but effectively, Mutineers bring this back to 5-5. Even the ability to do that is impressive. The fact that, like, I haven't really mentioned it yet, but this series was the determining factor for which team would go to losers at the major, right? So the Los Angeles Guerrillas, the London Royal Ravens, and Paris Legion were already confirmed. The loser of this series would be 1 in 4, and that would, of course, stick them in losers. And, well, obviously a massive series, right? If you win this, you're in winners. If you lose this, you're in losers. And Boston Breach threw away a 5-2 advantage to take it all the way to round 11. So we had 1 round in play to determine who would get to winners, who would get to losers, right? So fair play to Mutineers fighting back. But the way this went down is honestly ridiculous. So basically what happened here is that the game crashed for Boston Breach in the round 11. Now, at this point, TJ has streaks. TJ had a great start to the game kind of during this, massive round streak they have from 2-1 down to 5-1 up. And then the game crashes round 11. So this is just vintage CDL type stuff. The game doesn't work. And of course, like, there's all this talk about replays. You want to be able to replay the game from that point, go back and set up the game as it was. Of course, that's not the case, unfortunately, in the CDL. And therefore, we effectively have a situation where they have to replay the game from scratch. They go back to a 0-0 setting and play the round out again. The problem is, of course, that TJ doesn't have a streak. That's an incredibly important factor in this round 11, is that TJ needs that streak for it to be a fair affair. The only way to really do this is, I suppose, theoretically, is just effectively let TJ kill the other team a few times, and then, once he gets his streak, then play the 1 round out that you have. Just take the few extra minutes as the admin of the game to say, okay, let's just kind of theoretically set this up as a round 11, right? Like, okay, we'll get one team to just kind of kill themselves again and again and again in spawn or whatever, and TJ can get his streaks by getting plants or, killing the other team, whatever you want to do. But just try, and even though the game isn't great and you can't set up a replay system, like, you can actually try, if you gave it 5 extra minutes, to set up the game as it, should have been into that round 11. But they decided not to do that. They were just like, no, we're running it unlucky, mate, you don't have your streaks, we're just gonna, go and play the game as it was, right? And of course, at this point, Mutineers are probably thinking, okay, well, damn, we got away with that one, right? And they complete the 2-5 comeback. They win this one 6-5. But, Boston arguably got completely robbed in this situation, right? Of course, like, they probably shouldn't have let them come back from 5-2 in the first place. But the way this round 11 replay worked out is just honestly kind of unfathomable. It's crazy the way the CDL managed this. And it's also kind of crazy just to think about. This reminds me an awful lot, I said it in a tweet, of kind of when the CDL first went online back in 2020 when the pandemic struck. Like, there was all this talk about servers crashing and game glitches and players and teams getting screwed over and replays and all this type of stuff was going on at the time. And then seemingly a few years later, nothing has really changed. It's been a massive talking point in the last few weeks. I'm sure this is going to drag on for the coming days. And as Gunless and many others have said, someone needs to get fired for that call not to give the glide to TJ, or at least a replay, right? The theory was, again, look, maybe you just replay the entire map. I don't know. Maybe do something, but, not what was done right here. So, I mean, as even Paris says, whoever made that decision not to give the guy a glide bomb has got to go. Unacceptable, bro. I'd be putting my head through my monitor. And even, Awakening GG's Boston 1-3-2, that server was terrible. So even reckons, even on the winning end of the series, that whatever server they played on was awful. Skies, I think, even went on to say that kind of the additional ping that they were dealing with compared to what Boston were playing on was kind of throwing them off. So just honestly, drama all across the board. Even as Awakening says, sucks they didn't have the glide bomb, but I'm taking that, who cares? Which you can't really blame him, I suppose. I think any team would probably take it, and the CDL just seems to be saying, yeah, whatever, let's just get on with it. But it's just the factor that this was such an important series, right? It's not just any old series. This is a series, an online series with a game crash and all this other drama that determines the winner of that 1 round, determines who went to winners bracket of the major and has a chance to do something compared to which team went to losers, right? And doesn't have a chance realistically to do anything. And Boston, don't get the advantage that they'd earned in that sense. So, honestly, unbelievable. Like, it's just honestly classic stuff. And I know Kalle Garland said he wanted to be in the video here. So, I'll just throw him in because he ratioed the CDL, and fair play, honestly, all things considered. Method's frustrated. Who can blame him? Like, just let me know your thoughts down below. Not sure what the CDL should do about this. Of course, like, everyone wants a replay feature and that, but, we just know, like, I think I'm sure a lot of the organizations are looking at this and thinking, like, Activision, CDL, like, how can you make us pay you 25 million where you can't even buy something so basic as this so we can replay the game or restart it from a moment like this? It's a feature in other games. It should be the case in Call of Duty as well, but of course it's not. And despite Nero dropping a 1.31 here, he ends up on the losing end of this series. So yeah, that's it for that. Let's talk about the final series of the day. And OpTic and Thieves both decided to help keep this series quick. I'm going to talk about the series here because it certainly was interesting, and then we'll discuss the tiebreaker stuff briefly before I go to bed, because honestly it's a tiebreaker for 7, so who really cares at the end of the day? But it's important obviously for seeding. We'll discuss that tomorrow. But yeah, we've got to talk about this series because it was a big one for importance here in terms of seeding for the major, and also OpTic kind of getting their confidence back after their loss yesterday to the subliners. They come in here and honestly, Shotzzy was the big question of yesterday, right? We talked about it yesterday. Shotzzy was like 1 in 10 in that search. Game 1 he was kind of lost as well. Like he had like a 0.45 KD or something going into map 3 of that New York series. This series, an entirely different story. When Shotzzy plays like this, he is honestly like unplayable, is the word I would use to describe him, right? He's so hard to track down. His gun skills unbelievable. The movement is just crazy. He goes on like a ridiculous 13 streak. 21 in 3 he was at a time map 1. And he finishes out with 42 kills, which is a record by a long way, I think, pretty much, for Berlin Hardpoint. Finishes up with a nice 2-piece as well with a rat right here to close out the game. 250-135. When Shotzzy plays like this, there's just straight up nothing you can do. And Dashi had like 12 kills. He was like 12 in 17. I'm sure Dashi was loving life, just sitting there, sitting back and relaxing, needing to do absolutely nothing when Shotzzy takes over the game like this. 42 in 17 game 1, like at 16 more kills than anyone else in the lobby. Honestly, you know, best player in the game. Can be a bit inconsistent at times, but when he's on form, by far the best, I think, honestly, at least to watch as well. He certainly wins the the award in terms of the best and most enjoyable player to watch when he's on form as well. The absolute movement demon. Now, well, Scump, honestly, we go into the game 2 here. It's 1-1 at this point, and Scump clutched a monstrous 1v2. Not sure how Envoy really let him get away with this one. Like Drazah Charles gets him down to 20 HP, and then Scump goes for the Chal, kills Envoy as well for the 1 versus 2. That was a very important round as well, as OpTic get a 2-1 advantage, a 3-1 advantage. Now, in fairness, Los Angeles Thieves bounced back here, and both teams were trying to throw this series, I thought. Like, I mean, this round as well, when OpTic kind of had some advantages, they threw them away, and this round kind of was the key one. I don't know what OpTic were thinking here. This kind of reminded me, actually, of when OpTic Chicago last year threw away that 1 versus 4 to Shotzzy. Shotzzy Charles right here. Scump isn't, it's not really Scump's fault, really, but Shotzzy probably shouldn't be challenging there, should just wait for his teammate to come through, and Kenny just stands in the same spot and gets all 3 kills. So, yeah, can't really be gifting 1v3s like that, and of course they go on to win the next round kind of comfortably, but still close out the game. So in the end, it doesn't really cost OpTic too much. They go up 2-0 in the series, and honestly, the kind of crazy stat that I thought that I'll point out for you guys here in a second is that Thieves at this stage, every single series they played, like, was effectively determined by the first map. If they won the first map, they won the series 3-0. If they lost the first map, they got 3-0s, which is exactly what's happened here once again. OpTic go up 2-0, and then, well, it's not long before they close out this series 3-0. A pretty dominant performance actually on Berlin control. When OpTic, well, they had some clutch moments to navigate. They do that with aplomb and close out a 3-0 in a pretty dominant fashion. So yeah, honestly, great bounce back from OpTic. Of course, at this point, Thieves are already confirmed into the winners bracket, but that's kind of, they say right here, 1-3-0, finished 4-1 in stage 3. Shotzzy even said in kind of the post-game interview, they're kind of happy they lost in a way because it puts them in a nice spot. They know they're not unbeatable, for example, going here into the major, and can bring up that confidence forwards. Probably still with Atali. We'll see about that one, of course, as Dashi says, my team is stressed. But thought this is kind of remarkable, actually. The fewest possible maps played by Thieves this stage. Like, I mean, yeah, certainly if they don't perform well at the major here, they're going to have to think about what exactly is causing this, because they 3-0'd London and Boston, teams that I don't think are particularly good right now, and they got 3-0'd by Minnesota, Seattle, and OpTic. Definitely good teams, but like, you've got to be winning a map here somewhere, right? Surely against teams of this caliber. But still, this ends up being good enough, 2 victories to get them through to winners, but it's not good enough to determine their seeding. So basically, the way Chance was describing this is because Los Angeles Thieves and Mutineers had the same kind of map win record, they played very similar opponents outside of LA Guerrillas and the London Royal Ravens, and both LA Guerrillas and London have exactly the same kind of map win percentage and match win loss. Therefore, the strength of schedule tiebreaker between Thieves and Mutineers is basically the same all across the board, but the difference of LAG for the Mutineers and London Royal Ravens for the Thieves. And both of those teams have the same, as I said, match win loss at 1 in 4 and map win percentage. Therefore, we get to a situation where Thieves and Mutineers are tied on every single metric, and therefore the only way to split them apart is to do a tiebreaker series. So I'll talk about this one tomorrow. Yeah, I'm just going to close out the video here. We've had plenty to talk about already and call it a day there, because, you know, who really cares who gets, whatever seeding they're actually fighting for here. Battle of the mid, as TacticalRab Academy says here in the reply. So it's an interesting one, but we'll deal on that tomorrow. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting the like button tells your YouTube gods this is a good video, and as like you should see it as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.